Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. I could add that actually these mantras are supposed to be chanted in chanda, but I have not learned at all what chanda is. What I'm doing is just singing in bhajan style. But I think it's good for entry level. Like Veda mantras are supposed to be chanted only with chanda by a person with Brahminical qualifications. Otherwise, it's not supposed to be chanted. It's like, it shouldn't be used at all. But Gita, the Lord is so merciful. Anyone can read it. Anyone can sing it in any way. There's no particular hard and fast rule that it must be chanted with chanda and so on.
But you told me the other day, or you told the class, that there are, in each mantra, there's so many vowels per line.
Oh yes. When you see this chanda, it takes, I believe, 3 years of full-time study for a Sanskrit scholar to learn and master. The meters used in Sanskrit, in Sanskrit poetry, are very rigid and very, very complex. You have all kinds of complicated meters where the number of vowels in each line is fixed, and the particular position where the long letters appear is fixed also. And sometimes, in every case, for example, where you have 2 consonants together, is considered a long sound for the purpose of measuring the meter. So you may see a line on top here, and below it's not line on top, but in that particular position, you'll find that there'll be 2 consonants together, so it makes it effectively long. So it's very, 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 very complex. It's not like English poetry where you just make the last word sound something like the sound of the previous line, We have very, very complex. So imagine what kind of brain it takes to compose something like that. Like the Gopis' songs of separation from Krishna in the 10th canto. The first syllable of each part of the shloka is the same, like Tava katha mritam tapta jivanam, then ka. Kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadatam Bhuvi Garnantiye Bhurida Janaha. And the whole prayer goes like that, So it's said that, I heard from Sanskrit professors, the simplest form of Sanskrit poetry that you can find is Bhagavad Gita. And the most complex example of Sanskrit poetry which people study when they go to PhD level is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many complex meters. And the meters, they affect your mood and the context of whatever it is. It's a great science. I don't know anything. I shouldn't speak anything about it, but there is something called chanda. But what we are doing is just getting people to sing Bhagavad Gita bhajan style, Like I just sang that shloka like a bhajan also. It's easy entry level.
So this might be a little bit off the cuff again. My understanding is that there must be evidence. We've mentioned Bali, and to the north of Australia there is an island there called East and West Papua. Now, in the West Papua, 5 mountains are there, and they're called Puncak or Punkak. I'm not sure. It's got something to do with puncher.
Oh, I see.
And they one
in the Malaysian language and Indonesian language, Puncak means peak or mountain.
Very good. So my rough translation is good enough. So these are the names of the mountains. One is called Puncak Mandala. One is called Vishnu Murti. One is called Tree Kora. The other one is called Puncak Jaya. So that if you find the right maps, the 5 of the biggest in the Purangyun or something range, which I think means star range, or the star mountains, but all the biggest peaks except for the ones that have been Dutch overlaid. So Jaipur is the name of the city, which became known as Hollandia. And there's one other one, Mount Wilhelm or something, which has to be obviously Dutch. But what I'm essentially saying is that that's, to me, evidence that the Vedic culture was there also. Because otherwise, why would they have Sanskrit names? Vishnu Murti definitely means the form of Vishnu, or Vishnu.
Well, the Vedic history is that Definitely Vedic civilization was all over the world. You see, God creates us highly civilized through Brahma, and then we progressively degenerate through the ages. You can see your grandparents were probably much more cultured and refined and gentle than your grandchildren. You might wonder whether they're human beings or not. And we've seen the degeneration in our life. You read the predictions for the age of Kali, and also the land masses were all joined together, and I don't know if it was in just the previous yuga or which yuga it was, but in some previous yuga they separated. There's such descriptions in our Vedic scriptures, I believe.
The 7 islands,
Yes,
which became the 7 continents,
Yes.
or dweeps.
Yes. So definitely, even if it's just physically one landmass, the Vedic culture is that India is the mother of language, India is the mother of religion, India is the mother of civilization, because God created everything there. That's all. But it says in our scriptures that most of the 400,000 varieties of human species are aboriginal or uncivilized, and amongst the civilized ones, and those who follow the Vedic culture as the highest form of civilization. I mean, if you were God and you created, wouldn't you create civilization and maybe they fall apart? But what to do? Our worldview has been created by the British, but these barbarians took hundreds of years after conquering India to realize that Sanskrit was such an advanced language, for example, that it can be used for programming computers. This is a computer, the brain.
Yes, absolutely.
And the hard disk never gets full. Imagine
That's
carrying
right.
a plug around with you and having the every now and then your hard disk gets full, so I can't learn anything anymore. We never stop learning.
So getting back to what I was saying,
Vedic culture all over the world.
so if I was to look at Scandinavia, I would change the C for a K, and then I would get the god Skanda,
Oh, the god of war, Muruga.
the Aryan god of war, actually. And Syria, in its correct pronunciation from the local people, they call Surya.
Oh.
And then we have Yemen, which I think has to refer to Yama. And then below Yemen you have Somalia. So that has to be Somachandra. And so what I'm saying is, to me, it seems if you adjust one letter of the English, you'll see which god it was named after, the country originally, or that area of the world was named after in Sanskrit. Does that seem to make...
It could be, but I don't know. I don't have enough knowledge in that field to really comment. But
what would Yogyakarta mean?
Oh, it could be Yagyakarta, which means the one who performs the sacrifice. If you say your daughter is getting married, so then if I'm a Brahmin, you'll invite me to conduct a fire sacrifice. But when I start, then you'll be the doer, not me. I'm just doing it on behalf of you. So then you have to do some ceremony. Say Yagyakarta, you're the karta, the one who's doing the sacrifice.
So the only letter we have to change there is A for O.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's the sort of trace elements I'm suggesting are actually global. And that's why I asked you about Kenya, as it is either Kanyakumari, because the mountain there is called Kilimanjaro. So when I look at a map and I see Kilimanjaro where it is, in Borneo there's Kalimantan. So immediately north, diagonally from both places, Kilimanjaro and Kalimantan, is Kanya Kumari, the southern tip of India. And so that's what I'm thinking, the name of Kenya should be called Kania, because then the mountain Kilimanjaro would be Kalimanjaro. It's only one vowel sound out, and that's what when I look at the world maps in English, I just see a similarity, but my language isn't that clever. So I can't actually go, and here's why it's like that. But one vowel sound is the only difference that I can see, generally speaking, or hear, I should say.
Right.
And the funny thing is, though, that there is I don't know if you've noticed this, in that area of the world, there is a range of mountains called Unguru. N is there, and then Guru, Unguru Mountains. And here in Australia, the word Kalima has an N in it, so they say Kalimna. Do you ever heard of anything even like that?
No.
For instance, Bwana. In Africa, they say for a white man, he's called Bwana. And that means that if I was to look at that, I'd say the W sound doesn't fit in that word. I'd say Bana. I wouldn't say Bwana.
Like
So-
Banasura.
Acha. That's what I think, like that. They're actually, for instance, there's a place called, just at the bottom of one of their lakes, Shiva Linganzi.
Oh.
So the ANZ, Shiva Linganzi, NZE would be added, but the rest of the word is completely Sanskrit, Shiva Lingam. That's what I'm seeing when I look.
Yes, it could well be that. I think there are books which explain how this conclusion has been drawn by many people that Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. And it's very advanced and complex language. It takes years and years and years to master it. But one interesting thing, of course, we have, as revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that all the Vedic knowledge is compressed just within the first half of the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. And this is the first half, and Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. All Vedic knowledge there. But this Mahamantra is even higher than that because it can bring one to love of God. Whereas the Vedic knowledge is, the Vedas, Krishna tells Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature and how this material world runs. Please, Arjuna, rise above the Vedas. Come to the transcendental platform, Because religion, in my opinion, is what you use to run the material world. So there'll be some law and order. But that's not the real function. Within that religion, there is indication about God and love of God and our relationship with Him. So parodharma means when you give up the materially motivated religion and just talk about loving God in the spiritual world eternally and not making use of God for our material enjoyment in this world. That's like cheating dharma. It's called kaitava dharma.
Reversing the whole situation.
Yeah, sort of. So it's like religion is a halfway house between gross materialism and pure spirituality. There has to be an overlap somewhere. And Krishna says everybody begins their spiritual life because they come to him to solve a problem, because they need money, or because they're curious, or because they are wise. But when they become purified, then they worship him just out of love, without any demand. But if you just ask them to worship out of love and all they know is materialism, that means gratifying their senses and their mind, then there's no reason for them to turn to God because the God is not relevant. But if they say that, if I can get money if I pray to God, then fine, they may get some money or something, but then they begin to get that experience that there's somebody in my heart, there's somebody guiding me, there's somebody protecting me, and then they start wondering who he is. So in the beginning, a child just takes from his father, but if he grows up, he may want to give to his father. So then one starts trying to love God and serve God instead of being so audacious as to ask God to serve me.
Yes, sir.
Once Prabhupada was speaking in 1967, I think, in a university in America, and then he was speaking very intense and very absorbed, and then he was saying, going to the temple or the church and praying to God, give us this day our daily bread. He said, this is not love of God, this is love of bread. And all the students broke out in applause. Hippie audience.
Dina,
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you. I don't know, I hope I haven't said anything
Everything's
wrong.
fine. Everything's fine. Dandavat
Thank you.
pranams.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Prabhu. All glories to Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you.